everyone. Today, I bring to you a dialogue with Mumbai-based ceramic designer Vanmala Jain. Vanmala has established an NGO called Kuprkabi, where she trains women from underprivileged sections to learn her art and build products that they can sell through her own retail channel. Her objects are inspired by stories from everyday life of everyday people. Some of them are funny. Some of them have the flair of folk tales, and some of them draw their inspiration from religious myths and mythologies. Regardless of where they are inspired from, the objects women from Kuprkabi create put a smile on people's face. So let's have a look at Vanmala's creation and have a dialogue with her. Over to Vanu. So, hi Vanu, how are you doing?
Good, fine. Thank you, Uday.
So it's been a while since we met in January this year, and now we are back again.
Yes.
The reason I'm talking to you, let me explain that so that will put you at ease. We have known each other for a very long time, almost 50 years now.
Yes.
And I have been talking to people who are doing valuable, creative, imaginative work in grassroots level. And I believe no matter what the politics of the day, India is being imagined every day by people who are doing work with communities, doing some productive, creative work, and giving people hope and power to live life, even if it is very ordinary life. And the reason I'm talking to you is that you've used your creativity to bring women who don't have creative skills, who don't have livelihood, bringing them joy and power to earn a living from simple ceramic artifacts.
True.
So that experience of yours of building something over these last several decades is something that intrigues me, that inspires me, and I believe that story needs to be told to the world. My purpose in doing this project, as you know, this is Nana's birth centenary year. And
Yes.
just like your father, whom I knew so well, and Nana, you knew well, they lived in an era of idealism.
True.
They had a vision which was tied to grassroots level realities of India.
Right.
They had compassion drove them, right?
Right.
And from that ethos emerged all of us, our generation. So we cannot forget their legacy. You cannot forget your legacy of your parents, correct?
Right.
No matter how you evolve, that is still a part of your essence. And my purpose is to preserve that legacy, the stories of that legacy, so that's not forgotten for next 100 years. And that's why I'm talking to you.
Right.
So I want to start with the question. This legacy that you inherited from your father, your mother, how would you describe it?
Yes, my parents were to some extent, not to some extent, actually they were very strong believers of Gandhian philosophy. My father was living with Kaka Kalelkar in Delhi, and he was assisting him on a lot of projects that Kaka Sahab was doing at that time. And after my mother got married to him, she also moved to Kaka Sahab's house in Delhi. So, in fact, my name was given to me by Kaka Sahab. Vanmala, my name has been given by him. So, the Gandhian philosophy and their way of living as Gandhian was very, very strong. And I kind of lived that life as a child with, I mean, everything that they used to do, follow, work, was everything related to that. So since I lived that life, I understood that there is a lot that has to happen in the country, and it was not happening. Or so it felt at that time, because there were certain things that we also missed, and we could compare because there were people around us who were living a very different kind of life than us. So there were pluses and minuses at that point of time when I was still a child. But I'm very happy that I went through all that, because that helped me shape my thoughts, my beliefs. And then as I grew up, because everything was so related to um, good values, and there were certain norms that had to be followed in the family, in the house, not having people to help you for work, you do all your work yourself, and a lot of things like that. So that all helped. And I think over the years, because all that was happening, and then my education, and the way I continued, it has all been part of that era that I lived in, or the what life my parents gave me. So I think that is still with me, though.
So I have one more question. I remember when we were students, uh, we traveled to Rajasthan, where, if I remember that time, your father was a collector
Yes.
in Bhilwara. If I remember, it was Bhilwara, right?
Banswara.
Baswada. Okay.
Uh,
And he told us stories of, as a collector, how he focused on the oppressed people in the society, and he would open up ration shops for them.
right.
Can you tell me a little bit of what that story was? Because it seems like, almost like, on one hand, he was Gandhian and non-violent, but he believed in gentle violence to open up opportunities for the oppressed sections of the society.
Yes.
So tell
Yes.
me a
Yes.
little bit.
Yeah. So the ration shops were giving uh, ration to people who came with the ration card, but the people who had a different color of the ration card were not given enough or the exact amount of grains or produce that they were supposed to get. So sometimes he would just walk into ration shops unaware by the owner, and he would open the shops and ask the people who are not given their rightful produce to just barge into it or stand in a line, and then he would ask the other people to start distributing. And that kind of created a lot of unrest with the people in the system. But it was very, very good for people whose right it was to get the right amount of food. And that kind of made him very, very popular amongst the underprivileged. And to some extent, even the government people did not like what he was doing. But because uh, a lot of people were benefiting out of it, the government was in dual this thing as to what action to be taken against the something like this. Uh, it was a little scary for us as a family, but I think end of the day, he was doing such excellent work that everybody was helping him out to do what he was doing, and
And
rightfully giving it.
it did not stop him from rising in the ranks of bureaucracy. I think he
Not at all.
tried as a secretary in the state government, right?
In the state government, yes, yes.
And
So
I don't think he became chief secretary, but he
no,
became.
he didn't. Yeah,
Hmm.
he didn't, because he also took early retirement because of my mother's health and all that.
Hmm.
But yes, in spite of being a very revolutionary kind of a bureaucrat, uh, there were problems. He was transferred to not the right kind of places. But wherever he went, he was so impactful that the position which he was given, or the post that he was given, it actually came into the limelight, and most of the other officers wanted that post. So he was always transferred and moved to an area which were not so acceptable by other bureaucrats. But I think that is what he was.
Yeah,
And
like, Typically in a government offices, they are looking for lucrative places
Right.
or attractive places where there's good
Yes.
lifestyle. But I think the
Correct.
whole point of serving people is to go to underdeveloped people places and develop those, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
the other thing I remember about him, and this he was all the way till his end, is now, and you can react to it without taking names, but he fought and created a whole organization and movement against medical malpractices.
Yes.
And it was triggered by your mother's
Others. Yes.
incident where a
Correct.
medical malpractice ended up with her passing away.
Passing away. Yeah.
But
I mean, I,
can you tell
yeah.
me about his movement, about the organization and what he achieved systematically?
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, I can say that it was my mother's destiny or our destiny that she suffered so much. Um, and in spite of the doctors in other countries telling or giving a verdict saying that she's not in the perfect health and no interventions should be done on her body. In spite of that, in Bombay, some things were not in our hands, and the doctor did intervene. And it was found that she was suffering, and the doctors couldn't do anything about it. So she was asked, I mean, she was left the way she was in the same condition. And because the doctors did not come to follow up after the intervention, it really triggered my father's, whole thing. And he said, no, if they can do this to me, who is a senior bureaucrat in the country, it can happen to others in a very, very different way, and they will suffer. I can at least raise a voice, the others can't. And that's when he started this whole movement about that the doctors or the hospital have to give the report of exactly what has happened to the patient. Till then, this was not done. And the other thing is that if the doctors have made a mistake, they were not answerable, or the patient could not get the answers to what was done. And so he started this whole thing where uh, it became a rule or a norm now that patients had to get all the information from the hospitals whenever they demanded. Earlier, even the medical reports were not given. So it was after his whole movement that people had to uh, give all the rightful reports to the patients. And then even the insurance business started, and it, the mediclaim, and that doctors started insuring themselves because you could fight a case against them and fight the doctor. So it,
He served as an inspiration to me also. Even at age 80 or plus, he would walk around the city, take local trains, and keep
yes,
fighting for his cause also.
yes,
Though he had a son-in-law who could afford him comfort, he insisted on living his simple life all the way till
yes,
the end.
yes, right till the end. Yes.
So,
So
so now that I've set a background of your ethos in which you evolved, your values evolved, your imagination evolved, I will turn to you now.
I will just add one thing to this,
Hmm.
that yes, my father was the main person behind all that, but my mother studied in Manasthali Vidyapit, which again was highly Gandhian, and it is very Gandhian. It runs on Gandhian philosophy even today. She went to Vanasthali Vidyapit at the age of 5, and she lived there till she was 16 or 17 when she finished school. So I think both the parents really had that in them, and they both grew up in different areas, but essentially Gandhian.
So
So I think,
even before we move to you, I have one question. This Gandhian ethos that defined the value system of your family,
hmm,
is it still relevant today? for you? I'm not saying
Yes.
for the society.
For me, it is absolutely relevant. Though, yes, we have had a comfortable life, but uh, my mother, father's side of family, or should I say my childhood, whatever I lived through was exactly the same as when I got married. Because even in my in-laws' house, it was the same style of living, exactly the same. So, I mean, it's an interesting episode that happened. My father-in-law, he wrote a number of books, and he was a professor emeritus of ancient Indian history and archaeology of the country. And he's written a lot of books. And till the age of 75, he only would use a cycle. He did not go in for a two-wheeler, in the sense a scooter or a car or anything. And whenever any of us said that, why don't you buy something? He said, no, you people do what you like, but for me, it is only the cycle. I don't want to pollute the environment. I don't want to do extra expenses, nothing. I will lead a simple life. So for me, it was excellent that I got married into a family which also valued what was valued in my own family. So I think for me, it worked out very, very well that right through my life, both side of the families, I mean, I never had any conflict as far as that is concerned. So
Wonderful.
I could live that life. Yeah.
Wonderful. So now I will turn to you and your creativity and your imagination. So I remember when we were at NID, I also joined NID to join ceramics, but then after foundation year, I decided to switch to product design. You went to ceramic design. At that
Yes.
time, the orientation of the ceramic design program was industrial ceramics, not art ceramics, right?
True.
Because
True.
everything that people built in the ceramic department was like, whether it was toilets or sinks or whatever, it was all geared towards preparing students to work for the
Industry.
industrial sector.
Right.
So my first question is, when you were trained to serve the industrial sector, why did you choose to enter the craft sector?
Yes. Interesting, very, very relevant question. And there is a reason why this actually happened. Uh, my interest in ceramic developed because of Blue Pottery of Jaipur, which is the most important pottery craft even today in the country. So when I reached NID, it had to be ceramics only, and I was very sure the reason to join NID was also only ceramics. Now, when we started learning, uh, everything was industrial oriented. I mean, we learned everything that an industry required. Craft was never encouraged in any way for all those 5-6 years that we were there. But one thing that happened after I finished the education at NID, my industrial training also happened in Palam Potteries in an industrial setup. But after I finished, after I graduated, I went to uh, Tilonia, which is Social Work and Research Center run by Bankar and Aruna Roy. And that is where I was introduced to craft again. There was no pottery, but they were working with wood, with the weaving, with patchwork, with leather. So they were all other crafts, but not clay as a craft, no pottery. So I did get this sense that yes, industrialization is important, but craft is equally important and much more important, in fact, because craft was and still is the second livelihood um, um, profession in the country. But when I started, I mean, when I completed 3 years with Tilonia, with Bankar and Aruna Roy, and I moved to Bombay when I got married. There was utter chaos in Bombay because Datta Samant had become very, very active in Bombay. And all the industries were shut down and they had moved to other states. When there were 3 factories in Bombay where I had thought that I would be able to work, and when I sent applications to them, they all said, at this moment, we are not functioning, but as soon as we start, we will let you know. So that was kind of the end of the ceramic industrial setup for me. And I knew if I'm not going to move out of Bombay, that means I will never be able to work in an industry, a ceramic industry. So then it had to be channelized to something else which was readily available close to home, which Bombay was my home then. So I had no choice but to continue doing ceramics in some way or the other, but not in an industry. And I think that, but I have to say this, that the training in industrial setup helped me a lot in the craft sector that I moved into. And initial years, I also spent a lot of time teaching. And I was teaching in institutions which were both, like first institute was an art institute, JJ School of Art. The second was an interior design institute uh, where the students were going to use ceramics as a part of the interiors, like tiles or basins or whatever else. And the third was IDC IIT Bombay, which was highly industrial. But one realized that after working in all these 3 places, which was almost about 15, 17 years, uh, I realized that craft was picking up in a very different way. There were no traditional potters really. Nobody was taking work further. But after the generation, which was, say, probably a little senior than us, if they are alive, they'll be around 80-year-old today. Their children, which is our age or a little younger than us, they did not want to get into the craft sector at all. People who are learning craft are people like us who wanted to learn pottery because it's fun, it's meditative, it's very encouraging, immersive, and they all wanted to learn this, and they all became hobby potters. So they were not really any way of doing industrial pottery then, but it has helped me in a very big way.
So I think another thing I see, which is both a product of your training at NID and also being married to a husband who came from IIM Ahmedabad, is that even within your craft sector, you set up a supply chain.
Yes.
So you have a systemic concept of not just how to make beautiful products, but how to create a whole supply chain from the hands of the craftspeople, community of the craft sector, to the production and finding markets to it also. And that is amazing. Right. I think people have either one side or the other, but in your venture, you've created an entire seamless ecosystem.
Yeah, so far it seems like that. What I also realized today is that for me, I feel, and I am quite convinced that crafts, though, are very, very important, but they are losing its meaning now. The reason being that, as I said, people want to learn craft at a hobby level. People don't want to do any kind of craft work for earning a very, very nominal amount also, even if it means enough to buy your raw material. So people are not even looking at it as a livelihood, which is fine, but they are not even looking at it as a supplement to whatever they are doing. So people, crafts by itself is actually finished, according to me. I mean, whatever little bit of craft in any sector that is going on is, I really don't know how long it's going to last. Whether it is weaving, printing, leather, bamboo, whatever it is. I
So in this kind of a bleak scenario you are showing, I
yeah
have a specific questions. You worked with specific communities. You worked with women in Dharavi. You worked in some rural women in Maharashtra. I think if I
yes.
remember right, you worked in Kutch also, right?
I did a little bit of work in Kutch. I worked in Jhabua,
Yes.
where even today the trains don't reach, and there are
Right.
only two buses that
So in the background of what you just said is that crafts don't have a future.
no,
What
they don't.
what impact did your projects in all these places, Dharavi, Jhabua, Kutch, rural Maharashtra, did it have any impact on the people who you engaged in those activities?
I think to a certain level it did, because there are some of them who are still in touch with me and they are still supplying works to us. But overall, I feel that there is a mismatch between teaching them and actually making sure that they make a livelihood out of it, which means you have to get involved at every level. You cannot say, I have given them training, now you fend for yourself. It doesn't happen like that. You have to do hand holding till they actually themselves become entrepreneurs. And that is something which I felt was missing at every level, whether we talk of institutions, we talk of government, we talk of other, the corporates, whoever, everybody is into teaching or passing on the skills. But if you don't make them um, good enough to be entrepreneurs themselves, just imparting skills will never help. And I think in olden times, the way we used to have patrons like the Raja Maharajas or the government, today's government or today's authorities, whoever they are, whether they are corporates or NGOs or whoever, they have to do the hand holding and they have to patronize. Otherwise, none of the crafts will survive.
So
So
have you
just
talked
giving,
have you talked to anybody else, either from design community or management community, who has worked with crafts communities and achieved what you think is not being achieved? Are there any examples like that?
see, to some extent, I feel that organizations like Dastakari Heart Samiti, 100 Hands, and a few corporates, they are doing this. But I don't know how far will they be able to continue, whether they have the second line of people who will be able to do that. Because most things that happen is there is one set of people who start something, and then because it cannot be taken over by the next lot, things don't continue. So that's a issue.
So Dastakari Heart was a good example you gave. The other one used to be during while we were students, Gurjari was one similar kind of a almost
Yes.
like a
Yeah.
government sponsored effort.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
now today I also see Neelam is trying to do something through industry.
Yes. There also, I mean, I am a part of Creative Dignity, which is her setup, which actually happened during pandemic. Uh, they all into training people. Now, training is one thing. You have to take them forward, as I said. You have to make sure that after training, they do the production and then they also start selling. So you have to help them in marketing as well. And if that can happen, then there'll be more people who will um, get into craft sector. And which is what we have tried to do in Kuprkabi, that you have to take them from A to Z.
So I know you have a, a furnace and kind of a showroom in Santa Cruz. Is that your only
Yes.
outlet, market outlet, or do you also sell? Do you provide your artisans other marketing outlets also?
This is one, of course, which is permanent. And we go for all exhibitions. We go to corporates to set up one-day stalls. We go to a lot of cities in Mumbai, in India, through various organizations. When they organize events, we do go there. So those are two. And the third is where we get orders from corporates.
I get it.
So that gives a lot of work.
So, just looking at your Kuprkabi as a retail business, though I know it's not a business, it's a whole ecosystem that supports artisans. But looking at it as purely from financial perspective, is it a viable business?
Yes and no. There are times where I feel a lot of marketing is required and a lot of my time is spent there in marketing, in communicating with people, in making sure that they come and see what the artisans are doing. And so it can be extremely viable if proper marketing support is there. Financial support, yes, is required and is there. Somebody has to finance it to some extent. So I cannot say that Kuprkabi is completely self-reliant in terms of finance. On and off, I do borrow from home. So, but the whole process of the way Kuprkabi works is extremely satisfying for the whole family. It's just not me. It's, the Sudarshan children. Everybody is extremely involved. So
at one point you called ceramics and clay work meditative.
yes.
Does that meditative quality and its emotion, does it remain only when people are working with clay, or does it transmit along to other stakeholders also? That meditation.
I think it does. It does because the kind of satisfaction you derive from looking at the product or looking at the studio setup or interacting with the artisans in the studio and in the other areas where the women are working, it is extremely satisfying and very productive in the sense that all the family, the friends, known people, everybody is there in the studio. I mean, practically every day there are 2-3 people who come to the studio and just generally hang around. They may be friends, they may be known people, they may be students of various schools and colleges. So we do have a lot of people coming in, and I think that also shows that everybody enjoys the space. It's not, all of them are not sitting and chatting with me, but they are all, interacting with everybody else around. So I'm presuming it is.
Right. Now, before I go to a new line of questioning, I have one question that concludes this line. You mentioned something like it's not just you, but your children, your husband, everybody feel, I don't know the word you used, but I'll just use, they feel proud or satisfied with what you're doing, right? Have they ever
Yes.
expressed why they feel proud of you for what you're doing?
No, I've never asked and they've never said.
But you observe that they feel good.
They do because.
So you don't feel resentment in them that you didn't join a corporate job and made ton of money.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I maybe sometimes feel that I don't know what I could have done that I could also make a difference in terms of what should I say? Yeah, in terms of a little more money, but the kind of satisfaction that I have, and I also am presuming that the family has, is the reason why it is still continuing. Because
okay,
I think it is.
I understand. So now
it is giving. Yeah.
I'm going to say you complete your sentence, please.
I think it is quite satisfying, because now even the grandchildren have started coming with their friends, with their friends' families, and everybody is involved now. So as I said, every day I have more visitors now, and I am spending a lot of time with them rather than with the studio working. So I'm presuming that everybody is really enjoying it and loving it.
So one thing I can say is I'm not necessarily comparing it to industrial sector, but this sector, which is more about handcrafted products, besides the output that it generates, it has a social impact also by way of relationship it builds between the
Yes.
creators and the community of people that get engaged in it. Would you agree with
Right.
that?
Yes, I agree completely. Like of late, for last 2 years, what has actually started happening post pandemic, practically every month we are going to schools where we are conducting workshops, because more and more people want clay work to happen in their with the children
Mhm.
of their school and colleges. And the other thing that is happening is that all this is happening because we have more visitors now. So those visitors, when they see and observe what is happening, they want the pottery work or the clay work or the way the artisans are teaching them or training in the schools. More and more people um, want to encourage the artisans, and also want other people to learn or understand or experience the craft. So which I feel in last 2 years has really happened much more than it did earlier.
So you are actually
So I think
contradicting
that
yourself here. You said the crafts are going away, and you are saying
no,
people are
see,
inviting.
no, I'm not contradicting. I'm saying craft as the craft used to be, where a craftsman was making livelihood out of the craft that he produced. What is happening now is more and more people want to feel the material and get the experience. They don't want to produce what the traditional craftsman did. He produced matkas. Today, nobody wants to even eat out of terracotta pots or the traditional pottery.
Can you
So the
can you imagine a future where somebody who has pottery skills walks into people's homes or schools and colleges, not to help them make pots, but to help them feel making of the pots and heal?
it's
I think
already
it's a
happening over there.
I think it has a meditative and healing process also, right?
Yes, yes, it does. It does.
And listening to you,
Hello.
what I feel is that the pandemic has caused a lot of social trauma.
Yes, it
Even
has.
beyond what we know and realize, there's an enhanced need for caring, compassion, and healing in the society.
Right.
And
Right.
getting back to these
So,
and getting back to handcrafts of all kinds. It could be clay,
right.
it could be paper, or it could be anything else. Yeah,
Yeah.
might be
Yeah.
one way of helping the society heal also.
Absolutely. But I am not contradicting. I'm again saying that the crafts are vanishing because nobody wants to take it up as a profession.
I get it.
The skill or the material will continue to survive because it is got other properties. And like embroidery, nobody wants to do embroidery today, but doing embroidery is very, very satisfying. Similarly, doing pottery is very satisfying.
So what was happening is, in the past there was more supply and less demand. Now the demand
Yes,
is increasing, but supply channels are shrinking. Is that correct?
correct. True.
Okay. So I'm going to go to the next topic now. Behind me is the shelf in which your products are kept, right? And what I found interesting when I visited your unit and when I'm looking at all the photos you sent me is that you have a wide range of themes around which you build your products.
Right.
So my question is, and unlike, say, a traditional artist in the society, a craftsperson, who would only borrow themes from our ancient folk tales or religious tales, you're exploring, you have them. Like I saw you have Ram and Sita there or something like that, or Vishnu or something. But you also have Gangubai. Yeah. And
Yes.
you have some funny artifacts also. So my
Yes.
question to you is, where do you get your ideas? What is your curiosity about the kind of ideas you come up with?
Hmm. One, of course, I will thank NID because it did give us, that thing of exploring, of finding out what is happening around us, doing a little bit of research in whatever area you like. And I think because in the initial years, whatever interesting products that I made were seen by clients. And then right now, a lot of things that we are doing are for clients who also want us to make very specific products for them, which they also know that probably another studio may not be able to give them so much variety, and also be able to continue giving it to them with the same kind of skill, quality, and also keep it a little bit of secret and not pass it on to other people. So I think that is one. And the second is that I ideate a lot with the client. A lot of times the clients have come and only given us a very tiny brief, but we've been able to take it a little further and they've accepted it. So I think that's the reason why you see so much variety. And I myself get a little bored with the same kind of product that you keep making all the time. And it's also interesting to be able to guide the craftspeople who are working with me and give them a different kind of skill every time, because every product requires a different kind of skill, timing, material, firing techniques. So we've been able to do a lot of that.
So let me take one specific example, Gangubai. Give
Mm.
me the origin of idea of Gangubai and how she came about and how far she has gone.
Yeah, Gangubai actually is one of the most interesting and very, very, uh, the best selling product of Kuprkabi so far. Uh, I think it's got Gangubai. One is because I think she is one of the most strongest persons in not just Maharashtra, I think the country now. Because she's got the very traditional look and yet a very strong woman she comes out to be. And still in a very playful way, in a very fun kind of posture that she's sitting in, she says it all. And she says it completely and stands for all the women, I think, all over the world. And the kind of jewelry, the kind of clothing, her mannerism, everything is very simple yet very, very authoritative. And I think that's the reason why it has become very popular. Uh,
Would you call her would you call her an icon of an emancipated woman?
why not?
This idea came to me because
Yeah,
she's so rooted in tradition, but she looks so free.
exactly. She's like, I feel that every woman has to just literally imitate her.
So every woman should be a
She's just
Gangubai. So how did
so
you get the idea?
See, what was happening was I wanted to pick up some um, typical characters of Maharashtra and bring them about in Kuprkabi in some way. So the best two characters were, one was Gangubai and the other was Dabbawala of Bombay, because these are two which are the most iconic figures and which represent Maharashtra and more so Mumbai in the exact way these two characters fit the bill of, if you talk of Maharashtra, I feel, or Bombay, these are the only two icons. And the third could be the Kali Pili taxi. But these two were like humans who were there. And if these two were not there, I don't think there was Bombay, I mean, in those times or even now, it doesn't move. So yes, today, so that was one of the reasons why I felt let's pick up one or two iconic figures and then start working on them. So initially I tried them as figures just standing and then, just sitting, and then said, why not make them sit on the swing so that they get into the very playful mood. And I think that's how it just developed. And then once they were done and they started selling very well, then we kept adding more characters to it. But these two still are the iconic, main figures of Kuprkabi as well.
So what are the most surprising places where you've seen Gangubais being displayed?
I think they're just about everywhere now. There are a lot of people. You mean the our character on the Jula?
Yeah.
Or just
Whatever.
Gangubai?
Gangubai. Have you been to like people's homes and seen Gangubai there? Or like has somebody told you that, oh, I have your
I
Gangubai?
have. Yes. That lots and lots of people have told me.
And so
That
what are the surprising places or places that gives you a sense of satisfaction?
I've not been to too many people's homes, uh, but there are, most of the farmhouses have that. A lot of people who have balconies with plants have them. And I have a lot of people uh, in Bombay or elsewhere, they keep ordering. I mean, even online, every week we have 3 to 4 Gangubai orders, which I think is like
Ha- ha-
quite
Has any
amazing.
has anybody ever ordered Gangubai to give as a gift during Diwali or Christmas?
Not Christmas, but Diwali, yes. Diwali, Rakhi, Ganpati, all these times people order a lot. In fact, even um, on random days also, people, if they want to send gifts, it's the ideal gift they want to give to anybody. Whether they are foreigners, Indian, any age group, ethnicity, anyone. So it's actually, I feel that it's more than Maharashtra. Now she's becoming a figure of India. That
Okay.
every Indian woman is that. So
Yeah, it's
in
like now
some
after
sense,
all you said, it reminds me of my mother. It's like almost like Gangubai is the
yes,
true leader of Mahila Dakshata Samiti.
yes. I can imagine I like that. Absolutely.
Actually, then maybe you should have one with Belan in her hand.
Oh, I have to tell you this. There is a person who writes comics and draws as well. His name is Abhijit Kini.
Huh.
He's in Bombay.
Huh.
And I think 12 years back, I made Angry Maushi for him. It's similarly a Machiwali who's standing with a sword in her hand, and literally ready to fight.
Huh.
And that I feel was probably one of the initial ways. Instead of a belan, she did have a sword in her hand. And it became, I mean, in every exhibition that Abhijit goes to, he carries that as a symbol of one of the uh, major characters from one of his comics.
Wonderful.
So,
So, since I'm coming towards the end of our 1 hour time frame, I have my last question for you. Um, this archive of dialogues I'm creating, my desire is it survives another 100 years and it inspires the next three generations, maybe your grandchild's grandchild, with a
Wow.
message. So,
Hmm.
through our conversation, what message would you like them to receive from your life experience?
Hmm. I would want them to at least get rooted in some sense to the soil. So, I mean, right now, the two kind of soil that I've been using is one is clay, of course, for making pottery, and the other is farming. So I've just got into farming in a very fairly major way. So now I kind of divide my time into farming and clay work, pottery making. And I have been getting a lot of young students, children below the age of 10, who are all coming either to the studio or to the farm to work with clay and work with the soil. And I think it will be nice if more and more people start getting rooted or attached to the ground and get rooted to clay, soil, because I don't know how far will what the way the whole education system is going. I think it's taking us away from the roots of everything. Simple things like cooking, cleaning, doing some kind of craft, or even playing outside the way we used to climb trees and play outside. And most of the time, we didn't even know how far away from our house we've reached, which today's child does not. Whether they go to school, it doesn't happen. They go for various classes, which we never went for, even after school. Their timings are so structured. Even if they have to go uh, during the day, some birthday party or something, we didn't even know when our birthdays happened or when the parties were. We were just into each other's houses. And I feel that we learned much more that way in, rather than what children are doing today. So I think a lot of people should get into this, and uh, a lot of parents should make sure that their children learn more crafts, more handwork, give more time to other things rather than only reading books and being on the computer and doing structured activities all the time.
Why?
Because it doesn't allow them to experiment or imagine as much as the other things can do. Like if you walk out in, say, a garden, you'll probably look at a flower or something, and you may want to pluck it, and you may want to do something with the grass. The same thing you can see in the books, in the computer, also on the computer, sorry. But you don't get that feel. It's not tactile. And I think that's one of the reasons I feel that being connected to things with your hands or that is much more important, or let's me say equally important, than just not being able to touch these things.
That's beautiful.
So
I will also respond to that with my comment that
yes,
the digital world, the world of computers and technology, has everything that humans know, but nature has things we don't know.
yes,
So the process of discovery and innovation will emerge not from the digital world, but from our connection to nature.
right, absolutely.
So this was an amazing conversation, Manu. Uh, thank you so much. I
I
hope you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed, but I don't know what you'll get out of it. But ठीक
Well,
है.
no, but it wasn't as stressful as you thought, right?
Yes, it wasn't stressful, and I don't even know how what you are getting out of it. But ठीक है.
No worries. I
I
think
enjoyed.
there's a lot of interesting information in this, and I do value it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being a friend for all these years. You are an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you. Yes, so are you then. Lovely.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
लुक छुप ना जाओ जी, मन बीत कराओ जी, रा क्यों तरसावे हो, मन सकल दिखाओ जी। थारी शरारत सब जानू मैं तो धरी, हर सले उन्हें बंगा दी मैं कह लगे, मर बिगड़ में जागी धोकनी रे चंदा में थारी चांदनी मन दामन में पा भी खुशी रे झुम 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 झुम।